All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with Coach Traylor. Greg?
Jeff, how you doing today?
Good, Greg. How are you?
Doing quite well. And I saw over the weekend the video of that final play. I saw you tweeted you might watch this a few times. I was curious, how many times did you end up watching it? And what was it like kind of soaking in the aftermath of this win?
I never sleep well after a game just because your adrenaline, just for me personally anyway, just runs through me all night. So I never get more than 2 hours of sleep the night after a game. So I was like a little fanboy just on Twitter, just acting like a little child, just having fun and being a kid. Because, in that moment, I'm not allowed to go there in my mind because I just have to do my best to appear that I know what I'm doing and coach a football team. So I would say minimum of 20 times, 15 to 20 probably.
I imagine a lot of your guys were probably in a similar situation at that point. Did you have to do anything special when it came time to your meeting yesterday to kind of get them refocused and moved on?
We always give ourselves, Sunday for that. Mondays when we crack down on that. So I give them Saturday night and Sunday. We celebrate and pass out T-shirts and have a good time. I mean, you work really hard in this business and we don't enjoy it enough sometimes. So we always take Sunday. But just like any good fan, there's always heartbreak because the Saints got beat and the Cowboys got beat. So I know JJ's crushed about his Cowboys and I'm crushed about my Saints. So there's always a humbling coming soon. We got to avoid our own humbling.
And is there anything you're going to have to do when you get back with them to sort of say, hey, let's get refocused, or anything out of the ordinary as far as that goes?
Well, let's be honest. North Texas can ruin our season. And they've won 4 games in a row. They've been beat by all good teams. And they're hot right now. But guess what? We can ruin their season too. So that's going to be our mantra, that they're going to try to ruin ours and we're going to try to ruin theirs. And we're going to stay right there. We're not going to discuss the conference championship game other than what April Ancira is already doing to get our students in that game, which I think is just a huge, huge deal by her to be that, have that much thinking, planning already ahead to be in front of that, and for her to be so unselfish to help our kids like that. I thought that was unbelievable. Other than that, I'm not going to talk about the conference championship game.
Coach, how has the rivalry with North Texas developed over the years since you've been there?
I don't know much about it, honestly. I just know that our kids talk about how they embarrassed them and how bad they beat them. And it's been a sour taste in their mouth. But I don't know much about it. So I got to play them last year once. I have a lot of respect for Coach Luttrell. Obviously, Coach Bennett, when you're a Texas high school football coach, Phil's been so good to us through the years that he's a good friend of mine. And I have a lot of respect for their program. They do it right. They've got great facilities. They've got great money invested in their program. They pay their coaches well. They take care of their kids. They do it right.
How important is the series to both programs then?
I'm sorry?
How important is the series to both programs then, you think?
Well, it's important because it's the next game on the schedule. And so that's why it's important to me. Obviously, they're both schools that are recruiting the state of Texas. So that's important as well because we're all recruiting the same kids pretty much.
JJ.
Jeff, when you look back at the final drive there, just what jumps out at you, those set of plays?
Well, I think a play that hasn't been talked about enough, in my opinion, is JT, John Thomas, having the wherewithal to get out of bounds, to stop the clock with 39 seconds left. He breaks that tackle and gets out of bounds, which allows us to go down the sideline to him. Obviously, the throw Frank made to Oscar to get us down the field was an unbelievable throw into 2 deep zone. And our composure, our kids kept. Another play, if you'll go back and watch it, the snap was low. Watch Sincere with his foot. He's about to kick that ball into the end zone. And because he didn't see the ball down there, he realizes the ball's below his foot, and he just lifts his foot up, and it allows Frank to pick it up. And there's just so many little bitty things, if you'll go back and study that drive, that are just phenomenal. And you hear me say it all the time, JJ, a champion has the ability to play one play longer than his opponent. And we literally played one play longer than our opponent.
Wanted to ask you about Frank and his bounce back performance. There was never a doubt he was going to come back for a big game this week, wasn't it? Was there?
Not with me. There might be some people, but not with me. He's amazing. I've used the analogy 1,000 times. I know I'm a broke record, but he's like a snake, man. You can't kill him. You can run over him with a tire. You can hit him with an axe. You can do whatever you try to do to kill a snake. You can't kill Frank, man. He is a determined, high character, motivated young man that loves his city, loves his teammates, loves his coaches. And I know I talk about it all the time, raised by good people. And in my career, those kind of guys come through for you.
Nick?
Hey, Coach, first off, congrats to you, your players, and your staff for becoming the West Division champs. My question to you is, how was it, how did you feel when Larry Coker came out in the fourth quarter? What was that feeling like when he came out there?
Well, again, when Larry was Texas high school football coach, he was one of our heroes. He was a really good person. And the way he treated our staff, the staff he hired, his staff was such good people. I mean, Kevin Brown recruited my school, which is how I got to know Kevin, which is why I hired him. They're just classy. And he was so kind with his words. And I wanted to go shake his hand and hug him and tell him I appreciated him. He's been great for us. He's done anything we've asked him to do. He's come to our practices, spoken to our team at games. And it just meant the world for me to Larry to do that. And I'm really glad our team showed up and played well for him that day.
Hector?
Morning, Coach.
Good morning, Hector.
Did anything have to be said, or did anybody, whether it was you or anybody in the coaching staff, say anything to anybody on the sideline after that 3rd and 10 that was ruled incomplete even after that replay? Because it really put you guys in a tough spot. Did anything have to be said there on that sideline?
Well, it's a great example of our culture. I mean, obviously, you can see I was very displeased by his decision. I verbalized that, but I had to let it go, Hector. I had to let it go, and we had to move on. We had 2 timeouts left. Then I thought the 4th down. I mean, that call, was close. I mean, that was a heck of a catch, especially with somebody draped all over him before the ball was called. So that got us, hot again. So we had to really calm down again. We had 2 back-to-back like that. And for our defense to go out there and get them off the field and give us approximately 60 seconds left to go 80 yards. And it was just an unbelievable gut check and a test of our culture, our 2-1-0 triangle of toughness. And our kids won't go away, Hector. It doesn't matter what you do to them, man. They just won't go away.
The messaging this week, Coach, is it going to be tough to, you mentioned a little while ago, North Texas can ruin your season. Is there going to be a little something extra that has to go into that, knowing that, the kids know that no matter what happens on Saturday, they're playing the following Friday for the whole deal. Now, obviously, the undefeated season, their regular season is on the line, but does any extra, words have to go into that because of what's already been clinched?
Well, I think so, just because, y'all have a job to do, right? And y'all are going to ask my kids about it. And, someone's going to ask the question, is coach going to let anybody have the week off to make sure you're healthy because you've been hurt all year? No, we're going to win the game. They're trying to ruin our season. We're trying to ruin theirs. I can't be more clear than that. And it's what it is. I'm not Coach Traylor. I'm not Phil Bennett, but I can imagine what they're telling their kids. And we got to get ours ready to play. That's what our job is. So every coach has their own motivating factors of how they do things, but we can ruin theirs too. And if we beat them, they don't make a bowl. That would be devastating to those kids.
If you'll permit me, one question that kind of has to do with the following week. What's the balance for you and your coaching staff to know that you've got another game ahead, but at the same time, the preparation for North Texas? What's that balance like for you guys?
There's no balance. It's 100% North Texas. We're not even discussing it. Other than my shout out to April and Sarah for helping us get kids in the game, which I think is fantastic, which I've already mentioned. We're not even going to discuss it. My players are not going to. Our coaches are not going to. it's North Texas.
Thanks, Coach. Last one for me is I asked you last week, don't mean to hound, but just thought I'd see if maybe a week later it's changed. Have you by any chance heard the new Roadrunner anthem, the Meet Birds Up?
I haven't heard it yet. I'm always the worst, Hector. I'm sorry. Now that my kids are out of the house, I don't get to keep up with anything cool anymore. If my children were home, I would know all that stuff. But unfortunately, my children are scattered throughout the country right now, Hector.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Back to you, Greg.
Jeff, it's pretty rare for any program, but especially at the G5 level, to have 3 receivers with the level of kind of talent and productivity that your group has shown this year. What kind of advantages does that provide to you guys as an offense and play calling and from a coaching perspective? And what does that do for your group so far?
I thought that's the best that group has played this entire season. The catches they made were phenomenal. Their blocking was phenomenal. I don't know that people give our kids enough credit for how they block down the field. I mean, Zakari had a block the other night where the corner came on a blitz. He picked that thing off and just, smashed that kid, and it protected Josh on the bubble, and Josh got 7 yards off of it. Where our first year here, they would have hit Josh and we'd have lost 4 or 5 yards. So they're not only great ball catchers, they're unselfish people that block. And Coach Stein has done a fantastic job with those guys. As Coach Patel, our GA, they have done a fantastic job coaching and developing those players. And I'm so proud of John Thomas and Zakari, Cedar Hill. He's got more nicknames, John, Chris, and obviously Josh Cephas. I mean, those kids, man, they do an amazing job.
Is it a different level of challenge for opposing defenses just to try to find a way to match up with all 3 of them on a given play? Because any one of those guys could merit a double team on their own.
No doubt. I mean, that's what good offense is. That's why it was so hard to stop UAB. They had number 11. They had number 20. They had number 22. They had number 1. They had number 10. I mean, those, where are you going to – they had number 3. who are you going to solo? So, obviously, that's difficult. And we do our best to get those kids featured where we can get them soloed as much as possible and give them an opportunity to show their talent, which they do every Saturday.
Hey, Coach, just wondering how many, I know you always talk about how many text messages you get on a big game. Just curious how many messages you got, and specifically from the Texas high school coaches. I know you're very big on them. So, yeah, just curious on that standpoint.
Now, that was high. When I went in, the coach's office, right where I dressed at the Alamo Dome, it was already over 450. And by the time I got in the car and was driving Care Bear home, it was over 600. And the next morning, probably another 200. So I'd say around 800 texts. And I'd say half of them were Texas high school coaches. I'd say 400 approximately. And they say the same thing every week. Man, you guys look just like your Gilmer teams. They just keep finding a way to win late in the ball games. And, it's not complicated. When you believe in your kids and you have their back 100% of the time, kids won't let you down. Kids can spot fake. You can't trick a kid. And they know we love them unconditionally, and we don't play scared. We're not fearful ever. And I'm just privileged and honored to be their coach. And I mean that. There's zero false sense of humility in that. It's a blessing to come to work every day and coach my kids.
JJ?
Jeff, after the game, they let fans on the field and you kind of got swarmed there a little. What was it like to have that kind of interaction with so many of your supporters?
My policeman, Ed, that has to take care of me, he had about 2 or 3 of his buddies with him. They were freaking out, but I'm like, Ed, surely they're going to be nice to me. We're 11-0. And he's like, Coach, we got to get you out of here. And I'm like, man, I'm going to take all this I could. And it's that time of year right now, man. We're all exhausted. It's Thanksgiving. You got family coming in. I've been so blessed in my career, JJ, to have so many great teams that these games during Thanksgiving are so important. And the older I get, the more emotional I get, the softer I get. the water coming on me now. It's so cold. I act like such a sissy running off, embarrassing me and my family and the triangle of toughness. But these are special times. And Thanksgiving always reminds me of how to keep things in perspective and appreciate family and friends and football. And we're very blessed.
To follow up on that, kind of everywhere you were walking Saturday, I noticed the crowd was, cheering at you, and you made it a point to interact with them. Just what does all this support mean to you?
Well, I just want them to know who we are. And, one life touches the life of another life that touches another life. And if we can just be something for one person to help their day be better, to make them smile, which might encourage them to touch one more person and make them smile. The Lord has given me an unbelievable platform, and I want to use it correctly. And I feel a tremendous responsibility to uphold that. And sometimes I don't, JJ. There's time, I'm a human. I make mistakes, but my heart is pure and my motives are always pure. And I just want people to know how much our team loves them and how we want to be the football team of San Antonio.
Jeff, to pivot here a little bit, all season long, you've been don't eat the cheese. You don't want anyone talking about 12-0, but here we are at the end of the regular season. What would it mean to go undefeated in the regular season this year?
Well, it's appropriate to talk about it now because it's the next one, right? So, it's just, you don't get to do this very much in college football, high school football, any football. But I'd rather reflect when the season's over. I'm going to try to stay true to my culture pillar and just win the day to day. And hopefully, if Lord's willing, when you ask me that question after the game Saturday, we can answer that thing appropriately, JJ.
Greg?
Jeff, going back to all those interactions with the fans and the things you did on the field after the game, did you envision that you'd be able to sort of create that connection so quickly when you started here?
We've been very intentional with that. You've heard me say over and over again for these first 3 years, I'm not going to say no to anything. And I've tried to uphold that. I'm sure I'm not 100%, but it wasn't for lack of effort. Sometimes schedule conflicts just get stacked on top of each other. You just can't do everything. But we've tried to rearrange schedules and do all we can to let people know. As I've said to y'all before, when you're trying to build a program, it's like launching a rocket. Just getting off the ground is so hard, Greg. But once you get the rocket up and it gets to going, or an airplane, whatever analogy you want to use, a snowflake, creating a snowball, which creates, enough snow that by the end of the mountain down there, you got a real snow happening, whatever that word might be. But envision, your dreams should always be so large, your prayer life has to match it. So when your dreams come true, no human can take credit for it, Greg.
Was there a certain point along this last couple of years where you felt like you kind of hit that liftoff, or where the reactions to you started to change?
It's been a gradual build every day. We just keep meeting more people. More boosters want to get involved. They're very proactive. I'm very proactive in my messaging that it's going to take all of us. And each of us have a different ability. Each of us can do something different. As simple as like a tweet or retweet a tweet. Some people can give large amounts of money. Some people can just give a little bit of money. Again, I'm bringing up April again, but just her leadership and her movement and getting that thing going for our fan base. Culture pillar violation here, JJ, for the championship game. To have that going already, that's big time. And I know San Antonio, there'll be so many businesses, so many boosters jump on board. I bet we won't have one student paying for a ticket. I bet when it's over with, every one of those people will get to come in here for free. I bet.
Hector?
Hey, Coach, this is along the lines of what we've been chatting about here for the last couple of minutes, but I don't think, I'm trying not to be kind of a prisoner of the moment, but I honestly don't think that, or I think that years down the road, Saturday is going to be a where were you type moment for San Antonio sports fans. Do you, to already have hit given the city a moment like that. Just wondering if that's crossed your mind. And if you don't agree with me, maybe, to at least give the city a moment with a game of that magnitude, the way it ended, and everything that went with it.
Well, I give JJ credit for this a lot, but he brings it up a bunch, that we need to enjoy this. This is a special moment in time and in history. So I agree with you, Hector. I bet you Oscar and that catch, that picture is going to be on a lot of walls, hopefully in the race facility pretty quick. So I agree with you 100%. And I know there's about 2,000 selfies of me on the field with those fans. So they'll not only be able to say they were there, they'll have video evidence they were there.
Thank you, Coach.
JJ?
Jeff, I don't know if you could tell with this North Texas matchup, the fan bases between these two schools really don't like each other. Do you consider this one of your rivalry games?
I'm learning that as I go. I try not to go there in my own mind. They're all important to me, but I'm not so naive to not realize that when you're playing an in-state school, especially one that's established as they are, I've already mentioned how great their facilities are, what they pay their coaches, how they take care of their student athletes. They do a fantastic job there. And I just know how my own players feel about how they got so embarrassed and beat down there the last time they were there. It's a sour taste in their mouth. And I know our seniors have been bringing that up for the last 2 years.
Greg?
Jeff, we saw before the game Saturday all the guys who were honored at senior day and some from the group who weren't. Is that any kind of indication of who's going to be coming back next year, or is that a process you guys are still working through?
Yeah, it's just something we don't want to talk about right now. And some have already made their decisions public, but I'd rather wait till the season's over. It's just weird right now in college football because you got transfer portal, signing day coming up, and here we are trying to play for an undefeated season this year, Saturday. And I think, again, that's why culture is so important nowadays, that we have to, it's our brand, right? When image and likeness line up, that's your brand. And we just can't talk about it. We got to be about it. So we've got to stay focused. And I wouldn't read too much into that. I think there will be players out there that did this that will come back. I think there'll be players that were not out there that won't come back. I don't think we know yet. And I know how this is. When you recruit and other kids come on your team, some players don't like it and they want to go somewhere else. And I really want every kid to have the very best experience they can. I mean that from the bottom of my soul. And I will help any of our players that don't want to be here. I will help them because I want them to have a great experience.
I kind of thought with signing day and the need to hit a certain number of scholarships that you might have to figure it out before then, but you guys can kind of wait till the end of the season on that sort of thing.
We know what our numbers are, and we know how many kids we know are leaving for sure. And we know how many scholarships we're going to save anyway for grad transfers, transfer portal, junior college kids. So we've already thought through that. Coach Price does a fantastic job, our director of player personnel, and him and I meet on that daily.
Nick?
Hey, Coach, on that same topic, there were some big-time recruits that came this past weekend's game. So just wanted to get any thoughts on, if you've heard any feedback from them directly or from their parents, or just the vibe and the time that they had on this past weekend.
Well, yeah, obviously I got to speak to them at the game. They were in the locker room with us after the game as well. So, if you don't want to get on board on this team, we'll see you. We'll play you and be ready. I mean, we've got great facilities, got an incredible home field advantage now, which Southern Miss and UAB are on record as saying that our home crowd is more loud and disruptive in the game than Georgia and Alabama's. And it's an incredible home field advantage. My son gets to coach for the Saints. And it rocks like the Superdome rocks. I mean, it's just deafening. I mean, we could not hear each other so many times in the game Saturday. We were like screaming as loud as we can on our headphones, and we cannot hear each other.
Okay, JJ?
Jeff, along the lines with recruiting, have you thought about how, I guess, you're going to be able to manage a conference championship game, early signing day, and, potential bowl game kind of all in that 2 or 3 week window there?
What do they say, Jay? RPP? That's rich people problems, baby. Those are good problems. We'll figure it out, boys.
Greg?
Jeff, one of the things we didn't get to talk about from the game, just because there was so much else going on, there was a Lucas Dean, I think, hit the school record punt, 73 yards. I know you've talked about him in the past. Just what was your reaction to the way he boomed that one?
It's like there was helium in the ball. I mean, that thing just exploded. And even the crowd was like, golly. It was phenomenal, right? It really was. And he's such a weapon. And him and Hunter, as they always do, just stepped up. And that was a huge play in the ball game. Some of the plays that haven't been talked about enough are the fumble recoveries. I mean, Mekhi Hart's fumble recovery, go back and look at the effort he gave on that. And he beat that defensive kid to the ball. And how he got on the ball was just phenomenal. Zakari recovering the ball on the 1 yard line. What a great fumble recovery. Billy, number 33, BJ, we call him Billy, recovered our Sticks' fumble on the punt return. There were 5 fumbles in the game, and nobody recovered any of them but the same team. We got it away from them twice. They recovered it. They got it away from us 3 times. The fumble recoveries in that game were big.
There were a couple negatives in the game as well, of course, as there always are, but I wanted to ask about, you gave up a couple of long passing plays, and that's been something of a trend through the season. Is that an area of concern or something you guys are still working on at this point?
Well, you never like it, but I don't want the ball ran, and we're going to always be heavier to the box. And if they get us, they get us. And again, what has not showed up is the miscommunication. And we miscommunicated on the post. We had kind of got that squashed, but something we're having to deal with because the crowd is so loud on the other teams on offense. Well, guess who else is out there? Our defense. So we've got to do a really good job with hand signals of communicating better, because we said one word, it was heard wrong, and it cost us 7 points. The other one was just an unbelievable route. One they copied from UTEP. They got us on the exact same play, exact same coverage. They had the perfect call, and they executed it perfectly. And I got bad news for you, JJ and Greg. As we continue to play better teams, they're going to keep doing those kind of things because they're really good. They're well coached, and they just got us. But it wasn't – the one that's disappointing is the lack of communication. The other one, I'll just tip the hat. I really did. On the headsets, I said, well done. That was very well called play, very well executed, and they had a great call. And I say this all the time. Our coordinator's going to make 10 calls a game. They're the best calls you've ever seen. They're going to make 10 we all wish we had back. And the other 50 is just pound the fist. And by the way, JJ, that's the culture pillar of the week. Pound the fist, baby. And it's just got to be that. It's just got to be a mindset. And people ask what happened at halftime. We played so much better defense. We played better base defense. We tackled better. They broke too many tackles Saturday, and we didn't break enough. That's a stat that hadn't been talked about enough. We've got to do that. They broke 14 tackles Saturday. We broke 5. We got to get better at that. We got to tackle better. We got to be better runners of the ball.
There was another situation that did not really prove to be costly, but could have been, where you guys had 2 number 13s on the punt return and ended up getting them a fresh set of downs. What happened in that scenario, or how do you explain what went on there?
Greg, why do you have to always know everything? Can't you miss something just sometimes? I mean, it's like the most embarrassing moment in my coaching career. You want to bring it up right now. I just want it to go away. I mean, if that would have cost us the game, I would have retired. I would have gone to a ranch in East Texas or somewhere in Central Texas on some beautiful, hilltop and just called it a day. I would have just handed it over to y'all. We went punt safe, and Jamal was playing so well at corner that we forgot to get him off the field. So we had a 13 at corner and we had a 13 at punt returner. And it's the problem when you go punt safe and you got 2 13s, and we just missed it. And it's on the head coach. It's embarrassing. I'm extremely sorry for it. Probably one of the lowest moments in my coaching career, to be honest with you. And I'm so, as they always do, My defense bailed me out. It's amazing how many times I make bad decisions as a head coach, and I tell my defense how dumb I am, and they just go out there and make me look smart. Those kids, y'all wonder why I always have their back, because they've always got my back. That's why.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Coach Traylor.
Golly, you ever miss anything? See y'all, man. God bless. Birds up.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Jeff.